Oh, hello there. My name is Russell.
Is that working? Good. Okay. Hi there. I'm EJ. I'm one of three people that will be talking about the reservoir air. It's something that we take for granted a lot, and for my portion, I'm going to be talking about the biogeochemical cycle, the oxygen cycle. Now, the oxygen cycle can be explained with a complex diagram with so many arrows pointing at everything that's part of the cycle. Or I could use this photo and make it more simpler for you. Explain it in the shortest way possible and call it a day. Over here, sorry. Over here. Okay, so the way the oxygen cycle works, right? Oxygen, like carbon, is present in most things within the atmosphere, within the minerals, and even in water. That's the only difference that's one of the differences carbon and oxygen has. While carbon can be said to be in most things, carbon isn't in water, but oxygen is. So us as humans and like the local fauna that live around us, we breathe in oxygen and convert it to carbon dioxide. This is the most simple way I can explain it. We breathe in the oxygen, convert it to carbon dioxide, and then trees, they take the carbon dioxide and they use photosynthesis to turn it back into oxygen. And that just goes round and round, ergo the name cycle. And it's the most simple way that it can be explained. But to expand a little more, just a fun fact. Even rocks contain oxygen. Minerals, they're closely packed in rocks and minerals. So when they break down, they actually release more oxygen, and that's actually pretty fun. It's actually a cool process. But that's basically the basics of the oxygen cycle. We're going to move on to the next portion of this video, which is anthropogenic effects. With my friend over here, actually, no, he's over here.
Hi, Russell here, and I'll be discussing anthropogenic effects on air. You see, most of the air we inhale actually consists of chemicals or particles that can affect humans, animals, and plants. It also causes structural harm. A range of natural and man-made sources emit primary particles straight into the atmosphere. Transportation, stationary fuel combustion, a variety of industrial processes, solid waste disposal, and other sources such as agricultural activities and fugitive emissions from roadways are all anthropogenic sources of particles. Chemical processes involving gases, aerosol particles, and moisture produce secondary particles in the atmosphere. People who are exposed to air pollution suffer from a variety of health problems. Short-term effects and long-term effects are the two types of effects. Now, summer here in the Philippines is only intended to last from December to May. However, summers have been extending into June and July in recent years due to climate change. I've just encountered hotter temperatures than I've ever experienced, and I can't help but blame anthropogenic emissions. The problem is that using fuel amplifies both climate change and air pollution by increasing CO2 emissions, which contribute to global warming. While I understand that certain hotter temperatures are normal, it's occurring too quickly, and we need to do something. Even though I'm still young, I'm going to give it all my all, because the youth is the future. Well, this is one instance when going nuclear is actually the greatest option. Nuclear is risky, they say, but this is because we don't experiment enough. You know, fuel was formerly extremely dangerous, as were hydroelectric power facilities, which would often bury entire towns and small cities in a matter of seconds if something went wrong. To tackle air pollution and climate change, the world's reliance on fossil fuels must be rapidly reduced in order to cut greenhouse gas emissions. Nuclear energy is low carbon and can be installed on a big scale in a short period of time, providing the world with clean, affordable energy. The next speaker is Tina Tua.
Good day. My name is Dean Natuno and I will be discussing about invasive species and epigenetics. Invasive species is an event wherein a creature or bacteria that came from foreign ecosystems get transported to a local ecosystem and cause disruption or harm to the local ecosystem. An example of this would be the cane toad that got transported here in the Philippines by accident and started disrupting the ecosystems as it dominates many creatures while having little or no predators to control its growing population. A hypothetical example that is closer to the topic of invasive species in the air is a clash against keystone creatures in the ecosystem, such as a Philippine eagle and an American bald eagle. If the bald eagle gets transported to the Philippines and battles out with the Philippine eagle and win, it will cause harm to the Philippine ecosystem. Same goes if it were the opposite situation and the Philippine eagle were to defeat the American bald eagle in its own territory. An example that is closely related to humans in terms of invasive species in the air is planes. Planes that travel kill approximately 9,000 birds in the US alone. As the plane soars and flies to the sky, there is a probability that it can hit a flying bird as well, and there are occasions wherein it causes severe injuries and accidents on the side of the humans because sometimes it breaks the glass, the windshield of the pilots.
Now let's move on to epigenetics.
Epigenetics is basically the study of how behaviors and the environment can influence and change the way our genes work. To help you understand it further, think of DNA. Think of DNA as something like a cookbook. Meanwhile, epigenetics is like the recipes within the cookbook. Epigenetics can affect more than ourselves even after our death by how we lived our life when we were still alive. And when we were finally dead, it can be passed on to our sons or even to our grandsons. Thus, it is advisable to live a healthy and stable life as long as we live in this world.